Hello and welcome to another SGR video review. I am Chris and today we're going to take a look at the Elder Scrolls Online Morrowind. This is from Prima Games. So the very first thing we always like to look at is the cover and all the artwork that goes along with it. This one's actually pretty nice. It's got a very nice satiny kind of feel. It's very matte here, except for, as you can tell off the glare off of my screen, this is obviously very glossy. And the other thing is that these corners right here, they kind of like have this gold sheen to them. It's both on the front and the back. You also have the nice little logo right there, which you can kind of see. It is obviously a fingerprint magnet, which you can kind of make out right down in here. But overall, the cover looks really nice, especially for being a collector. This is the collector's edition. This only comes in collector's edition and a Kindle version, which I thought was kind of odd, which they're kind of getting away from maybe their e-guides, but this also came with a code for the e-guide. So we'll have to see where Prima Games goes. Anyway. When you open it up, you get some very nice artwork. It's both on the front and in the back. I'll remove this. This obviously, because it's the collector's edition, it also comes with a very nice, it's kind of like a poster map. I didn't wind it, but it's bigger than my screen has. The collector's edition also came with some in-game pets. Like I said, the digital guide, which I got on my iPad, which is actually really nice because it's been updated. So the collector's edition is kind of worth, unless you really like the Kindle stuff. But I like coffee table books. Anyway, so Elder Scrolls Online. So the very first thing you kind of notice is obviously we got some side markers right here going all the way down. So it makes the navigation a little bit easier. The funny thing is that the middle of it is where the quests are. So, this is kind of the thing that we're going to point out later, but this starts the quests. And if you look at the tab, this much of the guide is basically quests, and you're using the rest of the guide to kind of figure all this out. But we'll get into that beforehand. So the guide actually starts off with a lot of tutorial kind of stuff. If you've never played an Elder Scrolls game, you're want to spend a lot of time in here because this is a deep game. There's a ton of stuff you can do, a lot of questing, a lot of crafting. You can explore. You're basically dropped into the world and you can just kind of go wherever you want. So, even something as simple as, here we got just leveling, you got some racial skills, that kind of stuff. Like I said, if you've never played an Elder Scrolls game, this is going to be very helpful. If you have played an Elder Scrolls game, maybe you've played Skyrim. If you've only got a couple hours in Skyrim, you're still going to want to look at this. If you've got thousands of hours across multiple Elder Scrolls games, maybe you've got a couple thousand in Skyrim. Cool. This is not really going to be too much. It's really going to give you a whole lot of good stuff. You may want to look through it just to kind of see what's going on. But because this Elder Scrolls Online basically carries the formula of all Elder Scrolls games, it's pretty familiar. Anyway, for the people that aren't so attuned to Elder Scrolls game, there's stuff like in the training area here you got just how you acquire various buffs. From foods, from other players, maybe you click on a plant and it gives you a buff. There's things such as you can turn into a vampire. So you're going to want to figure out how that vampirism works and what it does. You can turn into a werewolf. So you're going to want to learn about what your werewolf skills do. Being a vampire, you obviously have to feed on blood every so often, otherwise certain things happen to you. If you want to go the vampire route, you're going to want to look in here. If you're going to want to go the werewolf route, you're going to want to look in here. If you have no idea what you're going to do as far as classes and skills, well, they got you covered, see? So here you got removing curses. This is very important if you happen to acquire vampirism or even werewolfism. This is kind of how you're going to want to remove that. So, and it just, there's a ton of stuff in here. Everything down from, here's some ultimate abilities. Like I said, here's werewolf. Huh. Imagine that, just happened to turn to that. How odd. All right. So also when you get alliances, if you choose a guild, the game actually has a couple different kind of guilds. There's a thieves guild, a fighters guild, mages guild, that kind of stuff. This is going to cover how you would get into those guilds, what the guilds are beneficial for. You can join multiples of them, so they're going to tell you, here's how you do this and that. Here's what you acquire as far as skills, because if you join a guild, you do get skills and weapons and spells and stuff like that based off of the guild and your standing with them. So this is also all going to cover that. As you level up, obviously you're going to get bigger and better spells. So this is kind of This doesn't give you a detailed list of like what is the best way to develop your build, because obviously as the game gets patched and stuff, things get nerfed, things get buffed. It's not going to give you a whole lot of that information as far as like here's the best way to build a great attack, you know, a fighter or a healer. But you can go in here, easily start figuring out maybe where you want to go, and then use that with online build guides, which are kind of a pain in the butt to find because I tried to find some of them. I know there's a lot of them out there for various different types of builds, but this game has got so much going on. There's just, I mean, use the guide, use what you can find online, build your character the best you can, and be prepared for buffs. I mean, it's not that hard to respec. It is costly, but anyway. So, you know, here's some player guilds. It's obviously going to go, if you've never played an MMO, this is going to give you a breakdown like how player guilds work, how the online economy kind of works out, that kind of stuff, trading. Like I said earlier, Morrowind or Elder Scrolls in general is just a very vast, complex kind of game. There's just a ton of stuff to do. And while a lot of MMOs have all of these things, you can craft in, you know, you can craft in Eve, you can craft in World of Warcraft, I believe you can craft in Black Desert Online, but you know, this one you're doing a lot more. There's a lot of stuff that's going on with it. It's much more hands-on. You're not just building recipes and just kind of going about. There's a little bit more to it. So, if you've never done any crafting, or if you're more the craftsman, which you can actually get levels and level up your character, don't really ever have to fight anything. So, hope you enjoyed that motorcycle. College town, it's great. But, you know, if you're going to go into blacksmithing, leatherworking, potion making, that kind of stuff, it's gonna give you that. So again, here's just kind of helping you get through how you find banks, what are banks, what to look for on the map when you're doing it, that kind of stuff, dye stations. So, like I said, you know, I've been kind of rambling, but I mean, this much of the guide is just kind of acclimating you to the game, what all it has to offer, why it is you're going to use it, that kind of thing. Now, I've reviewed other MMO guides, and they're usually full of maps. They're almost never this detailed as far as all the things that you can do. I don't know if it's just because it's the Elder Scrolls Online, or if it's because Prima actually took some time with this one. I forget who did the World of Warcraft one, but, you know, to have that much information right there, I mean, it's pretty good. So, now we get into the questing. So here's where you're going to be doing a lot of page turning. You're going to be using the quests along with the atlas, the bestiary, all these kind of go in conjunction. So, I mean, technically, if you wanted to get into it, except for the concept art, which is just a little bit right there. I mean, you got almost, I don't know, I'd say half of the guide again is now just based on quests. So what you're going to end up doing is you'll notice here that the quests are kind of broken down. A little bit of smallness here. You got, you know, the main story. You got some side quests kind of going on. So what it tells you is it tells you what the faction is. There's 3 different factions. They both start off in the same kind of areas. You're still going to be doing some of the similar types of quests. You're just going to get different storylines. I've done this twice. I've used the guide for 2 different factions because I was playing with some friends and I was playing by myself just to kind of see how the 2 different things went because they wanted to be one. Anyway, so. You know, I've kind of done this, and this is actually, I used it with friends. We just kind of explored, went around. It was, I mean, we still got around. It was pretty easy. The game does a pretty decent job of getting you from point A to point B and kind of getting you around to get all the quests. Especially if you want the achievements, because there's an achievement for getting all the quests and finding all the sky shards and all that. Playing with them, it was a bit more cumbersome, should I say. It was a lot more exploratory. We were talking and just kind of going around. When I used the guide, it was a lot easier. I knew exactly where I was going. I knew it didn't spoil anything for me. I wouldn't say a whole lot. I mean, it told me where I had to go, told me what I was going to look for between the quests. So, you know, here you got some world encounters. All of ESO has some different world encounters and different encounter types. You might be fighting a bigger boss. You may be fighting. There's these chains that come down. You may be fighting like a small mob and then trying to do that. But here you get more along the lines of it kind of breaks down the quest, tells you somewhat. So the VQ2, VQ1, that kind of stuff, it kind of tells you where to start hunting it down in the atlas. Here it tells you what's going on, gives you a little bit of noteworthy tasks. any of the vital information that you're going to want to do, any items you may need to pick up, anything you need to watch out for if it's going to be kind of a group thing, it tells you. And you get a couple little screenshots down here kind of helping you along. Along with the game pretty much holds your hand and guides you to what you got to do. This actually helps out a little bit too, makes everything a little bit easier, a little bit more smooth. So then, like I said, we're going to be getting into Atlas, and I really love the artwork in this book. Each of the major sections, quests, the Atlas, concept art, that kind of stuff, all have some of this just gorgeous artwork. And the Elder Scrolls games are always beautiful to look at, and so to have just gorgeous artwork to complement that really goes along well. Sadly, you don't really notice it on anything as far as the normal pages, but as far as chapter separators and that kind of thing, it looks really nice. It just adds a nice little touch to it. So each section is kind of broken down. Kind of think of them as territories or states or however you want to kind of equate that. So Morrowind or Vervenadil, I'm sure I'm going to get yelled at because I butchered that name, but Morrowind is broken down, as a big continent kind of area, and then you're going to go into each little state kind of thing, and then those are, they each have their own little sections as well. So the quests all tie into here, so you're kind of going back and forth with that. This is going to, if you're a Sky Shard hunter because you're wanting to get all your skills up and all that, this is very helpful because here, I spent a lot of time looking for guild banks and banks and all that. So those are all nicely marked here on the map. So that way if you're in an area, you kind of know where you want to go. It shows you where all the little portals are. So you have a nice little atlas or index kind of thing going on, or a key going on right there. Plus it shows you kind of where it's all located at. Let's see if I can get that in there. There it is. So you get all that. So like if I look at, here's 01 right up here. I can easily see that 01 is over here. Breaks down the library. I get some information on that. Even have a little bit of a map kind of showing me how I'm going to get around that. So between this and what the quests are telling me what I need to do, it works out really well. So again, this is an actual kind of in-game screenshot as opposed to artwork, but it's very nice. Gives you a little bit of idea of what you're going to be encountering as far as the enemies. And you get a pretty standardized list of bestiary here. So you have a nice little picture of what the beast is like. Tells you what the abilities are, what kind of damage it has, if it's any, electrical, poison, that kind of stuff. Let's see. Tells you what it's strong against, what kind of damage it produces, what kind of a strategy it has. So like if you're going to try to find a cliff strider, tell you're powerful enough, just avoid it. That's their strategy. So you get a lot of that. Another area that you're going to be looking at a lot of, so I mean the bestiary isn't that long. It's, I don't know, 20 or 30 pages, if that. 306, 330, yeah, so about 20 some odd plus pages. But then we get into the appendices. So because there's a lot to do, I really like this. The appendices are actually fairly long. They actually break down a lot as far as in here. So if you're looking for furnishings as far as what's going on in the Morrowind kind of area, you're going to come here. So they're broken down by what it is that they do. You may find an item multiple times because they may classify it as a couple different things. But it's really nice. Here you get some rare fish and you get a couple little pictures showing you where to fish those rare fish. Also what kind of baits you want to use. And at the very end, here's some more. This is, you haven't quite figured it out. So there's the, it's kind of the artwork, somewhat similar to what's going on in the front and the back. But you have some very nice concept art. It's just a really nice way to round out the guide. I always love this. I've said this multiple times, that I just really love concept art or artwork at the end. It's just really nice to kind of see an evolution of a character or various stages. Like if you've, depending on where you've been, if you've been in here, you're like, oh, so this is what it started like. This is how it's evolved because this is what it looks like, in the game. So overall, it's just love the concept art. So Elder Scrolls Online Morrowind. Keep in mind, there's a couple things. that, you get a couple strikes, obviously. I mean, you got to take the good with the bad. Overall, this guide is just, it's really good for covering what it covers. But this is not going to take you through all of the Elder Scrolls Online game. This is only going to cover what came out in Morrowind. If it was to cover, Tamriel Unlimited and all of ESO, I mean, we're talking a guide that, I mean, the quests that are available now are just, it's crazy how much there is to do in this game. So if you're looking for something like that, this is not going to help you. This is definitely going to get you through Morrowind. Like I said, I did it twice with 2 different characters, once without the guide, once with the guide. And the guide definitely helped. It was definitely a little bit easier. And I did the guide first, just in case people were wondering. I did do the guide first. When I played with friends, I kind of let them figure it out. I didn't really tell them that I had done this already, so let them kind of finagle it. And then we got stuck on some ones like we should try doing this maybe. So just getting through it, through Morrowind, this definitely streamlined it quite a bit. I wish I had guides like this for the rest of the game, because I spend a lot of time every once in a while. I miss a quest, and I am very determined to get those achievements to clear out every quest and do all the helping I can do. Or if you're playing Vlad, you're generally just killing everybody, as many people as you possibly can. And I've killed quite a few people. It's been pretty fantastic. Except for the bad people, I let those live. But to get through all that, it would be great. Again, this isn't going to have any specific build ideas. It's not going to tell you, you're going to want these skills and to level up these spells, and you're going to want to kind of go with these attributes. And once you ascend into this, and you can start maxing out your character, this is not going to be the guide that's going to help you. You're going to have to go online, especially with patches, with all the buffs and nerfs that end up coming along. You're just going to want to do that. This is going to be a great way to get you in and out of Morrowind, and then get you pretty much set up to kind of keep going on as you explore the rest of Elder Scrolls Online, which is actually a pretty fantastic experience. I know that when the game first came out, didn't really have all that great of a reputation, but when I started playing it, it was a lot of fun. This has made it really great. Going back to Morrowind, the Elder Scrolls Morrowind was one of my favorite games. It's really great to kind of go back there and see that, and just see how everything's tied together. See some new stories, see some old stories, see how some of the old game kind of comes in. But overall, I'm going to give this guide a solid. I know in an article I said I was going to give it a 3. It's good that I took some time to sit on this one. I'm going to go ahead and give this a 3.5 out of 5. Mainly because, it's going to get you through Morrowind. And a lot of it, I know a lot of people, I had a couple friends that only picked up ESO because of Morrowind. And they wanted to go back, and because it was a really good deal, so they felt like they were getting a decent amount of money and content for that. So if you're one of those people and you're just starting to get into this, I know that this review is kind of late-ish into the game, but if you're just starting out, this is great. If you've never touched an ESO game, and I have a friend that I'm playing with that I am just telling him he needs to pick up this guide because he is struggling with all the stuff that there is to do and what to do, this is great. It definitely breaks down how an Elder Scrolls game works and how the ESO game works, and it will get you through Morrowind. If you're a veteran, the game does a pretty good job at getting you through it, but this also got me through it a lot faster. It gave me a lot of good information. Stuff that I may have missed. Finding the sky shards was definitely well worth it, especially for that map. So, 3.5 out of 5 for the Elder Scrolls Online Morrowind by Prima Games. And with that, I'm out. Peace.